You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com. And now, it's time for the show that breaks down the options market from unusual activity alerts to market analysis, strategy overviews, listener questions, and much more. If it involves puts and calls, then our all-star panel will break it down. It's time to hit the Option Block with your host, Mark Longo from the Options Insider Media Group, and co-hosts, Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, along with Andrew the Rock Lobster Giovinazzi from OptionFit.com. Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. And now, get ready to hit the Option Block.
All right, everybody. That music means we are back. It is Monday. Time to kick off our broadcast week here with everyone's favorite bi-weekly source for all things options related. Yes, it is time for the Option Block. My name, of course, Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com. Reminding you at the top of the show here, make sure you subscribe to the full network. You're missing out on a whole bunch of other fun stuff if you're not, including for fans of this show, the Hot Options Report coming at you every day with a nice synopsis of the hot activity in the options market. And then, of course, if you're ready to go big or go home, you don't want to go home, you're already home. Why don't you go big? Theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go. Lots of good stuff popping off there, including live streams. You get early access to fun stuff. You get to haggle Dr. Vix on the European market brief tomorrow. He'll be nice and tired. It'll be early. It'll be fun. We'll make fun of him together. Should be a good time. Theoptionsinsider.com/pro, the place to go to learn more as we learn who's joining us on the old Monday edition of the Option Block. Of course, the dynamic duo of the uncleest of Mikes, Mr. Uncle Mike Tosaw from St. Charles Wealth Management, as well as the rockingest of lobsters, Mr. Andrew Giovinazzi from OptionPit.com. I introduce them now, listeners, because they are ready. They are in their respective corners, prepared to do battle. It is Monday. It is time for an 80s trivia challenge. Here we go. Ah, yes. Nothing better than some unlicensed, generic, appropriate to no show trivia music. Just makes you think. That makes me in the mood for trivia. All right. I hold the card in my hot little hands from our official 80s edition, the blue box of Trivial Pursuit. If you don't like the question, I did not choose it. The card was chosen by the super producer, so raise all complaints to her if you dare. All right, here we go. Uncle Mike, kind of a surprise poll last week. Coming at us with the Harlem Globetrotters, surprising everyone, maybe not the least of which himself. So can he pull it off again this week? Uncle Mike, which way are we going?
Oh, we gotta go sports and leisure.
All right. I think
back to the dog that bit me.
You're probably going to like this one. If you didn't guess it, you probably would be mad at yourself. All right. Quite simply, get your hands on your buzzers, gentlemen. What team lost the first Super Bowl?
Buzz.
Who wrote first? Uncle Mike is first in the chat, so Uncle Mike, you go first. You get to choose who lost the first Super Bowl.
That would be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah. Rock Lobster, did you know that as well?
No.
You were just going in to be the disruptor. I like it. All right. You've learned how the game is played.
You know what? I know the Green Bay Packers beat them. I just don't remember who it was. Was it like Len Dawson, the guy that lost, the quarterback? I'm going to say, but I don't know.
Yeah, there's that legendary picture of him having a cigarette and a Coke at halftime.
Yeah. If I could have thought, maybe I would have remembered, but. All right. Tusaw's coming back.
Tusaw, you would have been mad if you didn't guess sports and leisure today. If you guessed some other random nonsense and you got, Pride and Prejudice was the answer as opposed to the first Super Bowl. All right, here we go, listeners. Let's keep on rolling. Did you get that? Did you know who lost? Interesting way to spin it. Not who won, but who lost. Did you know that, listeners? As we keep on rolling into a little bit of the old trading block.
It's time to break down the latest topics, trades, and trends in the world of options. It's time for the Trading Block.
All right, listeners, welcome to the Trading Block, the portion of the show where we break down what the heck is trading out there. And is this the start of the Uncle Mike comeback? Can he fight his way into victory towards the end of the year? I mean, he's got to pretty much win them all at this point, listeners. We shall see. And speaking of comebacks, looks like we got a little bit Uncle Mike style comeback in the markets today, listeners, after the market taking some body blows last week, including some very impressive intraday whipsaws out there again. Shades of April tariff tantrums rocking the markets last week. I do believe we had multiple new records for, I believe, was it Q's and SPY, I believe, hit new single day records. Others flirting with it, but not quite getting there. So fascinating stuff out there. As we're coming in to start the show today, the Dow up about 0.2%. S&P bit in the teeth, up a full 100 plus handles, 1.6%. And the NASDAQ up about 2.6%. So the NASDAQ just feeling the animal spirits today. Wild stuff out there in the NASDAQ. And VIX cash coming back to earth was at about a 20 3/4 right as we kicked off the show. Puts it down a full 3/4 of a point from where it was on the Thursday show. And obviously much lower than the higher levels the cash got to in all the intraday madness last week. VVIX coming back down a little bit as well at about a 106 when we kicked off the show. Puts us down about 5 points from where we were on the Thursday show. So a lot to unpack. But as our victor, we shall begin with him. Mr. Uncle Mike, if you have any enduring memories of that first Super Bowl, which I know you didn't see in person or live, but if you have any thoughts about it, by all means. And then B, what is lighting up your tape in a day when the Cabal is dominant yet again, sir?
Yes, the first Super Bowl. It was not even called the Super Bowl. Played at the Rose Bowl. It was known as the World Championship of Professional Football. There was a big merger that was in the process of happening between the NFL and the AFL.
They should go back to that name. That just sounds better than Super Bowl. The World Championship of Professional Football. I love it. Let's go with it. Rolls off the tongue.
All right. Call up Paul Tagliabue, or I'm sorry, I don't even know who the commissioner is.
I was going to say, he's been dead for a while.
Okay,
It's Goodell. Roger Goodell.
Roger Goodell.
Tagliabue.
I'm going to call up Pete Rozelle.
Do I get a half a point?
I am surprised the Rock Lobster knew that and you did not. That is interesting. You might have to lose a half a point.
I'm just looking for a half. That's all I want, a half a point.
You knew the loser of the first Super Bowl, but not the current commissioner.
Well, it's fine. So in my brain, it's always going to be Paul Tagliabue because on my football, when I played, that still sits in my son's room. It says Paul Tagliabue on it. So I guess that just kind of stuck in my brain. But anyway, but yeah, it was the World Championship of Professional Football. Vince Lombardi referred to the AFL initially as a Mickey Mouse league. He really didn't even take that game very seriously. He knew he was going to win the game. He just thought it was just kind of a pain in the butt, quite honestly. But with that, the Packers beat him pretty handily. And the head coach for the opposing team was Hank Stram. He's known for saying, "Come on, boys, keep matriculating the ball down the field." And so that's what he was one of his trademark sayings. Hank Stram, I believe, is also an NFL Hall of Fame coach. So the Chiefs ended up winning. I believe it was Super Bowl IV. So Hank Stram did get his Super Bowl victory later on. The Packers ended up repeating. I believe they beat the Oakland Raiders in Super Bowl II, and then Super Bowl III was the legendary Super Bowl where Joe Namath beat the Baltimore Colts. So a lot of fun stuff back in that time. That must have been a very fun time to be a football fan, just when professional football was really starting to take over as the premier sport of America. It hadn't yet. Baseball was still king for probably about another 10, 15 years or so. But nonetheless, it was a lot of exciting things happening during that time. Now that you have your football history down pat, I do appreciate that we're having more, not quite sophisticated trivia. We're not quite at the elite sport of professional wrestling, but we're at least a little bit higher on the food chain than these English Channel things and all this lowbrow stuff that the Rock Lobster was getting done. But we're getting there. In terms of the markets, we are up over 1.5% on the day. So buyers have come in, to say the least. So we are back within, I believe it is 210 points or so from an all-time high in the S&P 500. I really think it was interesting in terms of the way with which pullbacks seem to work these days. Later last week, we got down to about, not quite, but actually a little bit more than a 5% pullback from the all-time high. So the all-time high was put in with the S&P on October 29th at 69.20. And we got to a low on Thursday of 65.34, and we actually got a little bit lower on Friday at 65.21. We closed above that, of course, but both those numbers are not exactly, but they're about 5% off the all-time high. Combine that with we tested the low that was put in on October 10th at the 65.50 level. So the numbers aren't exact if you want to be a very strict technical analyst, but they're pretty close in terms of where they are. And the fact that we were about 5% off of the all-time high, that kind of made me raise an eyebrow a little bit and think maybe it's time to fire up the buying machines again, if you will, in the short-term world. Of course, in the long term, for our buy and hold stuff, we didn't do anything because we're buying and holding. And for our longer term puts, we aren't at a point to where we need to make any adjustments as of yet either. So we have that happening in the marketplace. Also with the VIX, that's down not quite as much as the 1 to 10 ratio. So we have the VIX down roughly 11.5% on the day. The S&P is up 1.6% on the day approximately. So the VIX theoretically, it's not quite where it's at, but I'm sure there's some weekend effect in there, and I'm sure the Rock Lobster can expand on that a little bit more. But nonetheless, it's not like we're having a major VIX drop on the day or nothing huge, but it's definitely going down as it should on a day like today. In terms of some individual names that are catching my eye, Apple is definitely on the catching my eye list, if you will, up 1.6% of the day, back over the 275 handle. Big Blue up $8 on the day, IBM. Back above the 300 mark. That's another thing catching my eye. Taiwan Semiconductor up 3% on the day, up almost $9 to the 283 level. So we have a couple of stocks that are really moving on here. And then just going back to the duel of death between NVIDIA and Palantir. NVIDIA is up almost 2% on the day. Palantir is up 6% on the day. So we do have some of the technology stocks that are really making things move and doing what they need to do to make this market rally. In the bond space, we're up very slightly on the day, and then silver's up about 1.5% on the day, still kind of staying in the same area with which it was, no major breakouts. So with that, what it all boils down to is more buyers than sellers, kid, as Mark would tell you.
Those guys were pretty wise in hindsight. Jaded and as obnoxious as they might have been. Quite wise fellows in hindsight. As you go on out now to the shores of Maine, Mr. Rock Lobster, good to see that you are still alive. You have survived another week beset by clam pirates and just assorted ne'er-do-wells along those barbarous shores, sir. So what are your thoughts, if you have any? Sounds like you have a few on the first Super Bowl. I was surprised you buzzed in first. I liked it. And then B, what's catching your eye in a rally ho mode day yet again?
Yeah. Well, I think I guess the rally today was because they shut down Doge. I heard that the Doge, whatever their mission was completed.
Yeah, that's why we're rallying.
You hold out hope that, the government, there would be some improvements, but, no, it's just, there's nothing I can say about it. It's all just disappointing. But right now it looks like, what rally stocks is, the pendulum has swung back to, they're going to cut rates in December. I think that's almost 80% now, where they're going to cut rates another quarter point. So my guess is we're going to see some relatively benign inflation number coming out. And we're going to see, I guess an okay jobs number, but I guess we have a PPI number coming and all that stuff for September. So all those numbers are coming out this week. I don't believe in coincidences anymore. We're rallying pretty hard because I think those numbers are going to come in okay. So that is, that's what we got. Also, another thing I would say is I think Google is becoming the new market leader. Gemini is so good that the stock is up 6%. And I'm sure nobody on the planet will be able to come up with an alternative to Gemini. But right now, Google is up 6% on Gemini being like the coolest AI thing on the planet. So that still wins. And we were just saying, I don't know, I feel like June, July, why doesn't anybody like Google? I think everybody was worried that Google's lunch was going to get eaten with this AI thing. And it turns out to be they're the leader right now. So... and the stock is up, pretty substantially on the year. So, and I think I'm actually going to say I think Google is going to now become the market leader over Nvidia and Apple. Mostly because they're going to ride this AI narrative the most. At least, of course, until Google has a $5 trillion market cap, and then we'll look for something else. But right now that's what it appears to be. So, I guess this is the law of large numbers or something like that, but, Google is definitely flying. So you can't, if the Fed says they're going to lower rates, stocks rally. So you get in front of that at your peril. And one thing about the sell-offs we have, like Mike said, they don't last very long. So there is still not there is still a lot of, there's a lot of faith in the U.S. that, either we ignore Congress or somehow the government will improve things, spend less money. I don't know. But they've got the same budget problem in January. It appears that Congress, they didn't do their job then. They're not going to do it in January because it's going to be another shutdown. So the U.S. keeps chugging along, I believe, in spite of the government, which I think the founding fathers always knew, because the commerce works and the government mostly gets in the way. And I don't think that has changed in thousands of years. So at least for now, the AI thing is still lifting all boats. Every once in a while, you get a shock about, employment or something like that. There won't be any white collar jobs left anymore. Who knows how that plays out? But every technology boom we've had has definitely displaced some people, but ended up creating a lot more jobs down the road. So right now, the market is pretty optimistic about that. And I would lean in that direction.
Yeah, they also got hit with the Buffett stick last week. That usually sends the stock on a nice run, and that's been certainly lifting them quite a bit. I'm not as sold on Gemini. Have you used Gemini? I'm not exactly.
I do use an AI tool to do some stuff, but now that's the AI tool I use. It doesn't really cost me anything, so I don't know how they make money on it.
they just spend infinitely right now, and the stock goes up. The chat's behind me. The chat not liking Gemini either. Frank says Gemini sucks. Yeah, I'm not too on board with the Gemini. Just straight faced off versus Chat GPT and some others. Gemini has usually come up much worse. So it's kind of interesting to see. Maybe they are around. I think it's a Buffett stick, or at the end of the day, more buyers than sellers out there today, including Uncle Mike's Cabal driving. If you want more alphabet, stay tuned. They'll be coming back in a little bit. But first, to the land of VIX we go. VIX kind of a little sluggish out of the gate today. Now, normally 350 around that ballpark level right now wouldn't be terrible volume, but the ADV is now officially north of 1 million, 1.01 million. So my barometer, listeners. When VIX ADV is north of 1 million, strap in. We're in for some wild markets because that's usually not sustainable unless things are pretty wild. So we'll see what's going on out there. By the way, if you're wondering what is the hot option out there in VIX land, you can probably guess it. If you pay attention to the markets last week, you listened to the hot options report. If you listened to Vol Views last week, you know exactly what the hot option in VIX land has been pretty much every day last week. And again today, I'll give you a couple seconds. 3, 2, 1. Did you guess the D's 18 puts? If you did, then you've been paying attention as I crush my mark. There we go. If you did, then you've been paying attention out there, listeners. So yeah, VIX 18 puts going up about 20, almost 21,000 today for about nearly 80 cents, 78 cents. So obviously a little bit juicier than they were this time last week. They were going up for about 65 to 70 cents, but also obviously VIX coming back to earth a little bit. So probably even pricier than that now if you go price them up. And number 2, really quickly, 20,000 as well of the Jan 70s. So we've got both ends of the spectrum there. Ridiculous upside. Some might say ridiculous downside. Pick your poison. Which one floats your boat? By the way, if you're wondering, Jan 70s, 49 cents for the privilege of having Jan 70s in your portfolio. Our buddy Mr. Dr. Vix was speculating on Vol Views on Friday that those might be the new stress test options, that instead of doing some of the other elaborate stress tests that they've done in the past, they just pump through a bunch of far upside in VIX. So I'll leave it to you to speculate on that, listeners, as we keep on rolling out to SPY land. Is SPY rolling? The answer is yes. Nearly 7 million contracts already, 6.7 million. So go figure. Uncle Mike and his Cabal have been busy in the first half of the session today. The ADV is 10.2 million. So that's a little over about 3.5 million away from where we are right now. So that's nothing to sneeze at out there, but it looks like they can hit that today. The S, 2.5 million, so not quite as explosive out of the gate. We were used to seeing the S around 2.25 million this time of the show, so slightly heavy on the SPX side. The ADV is 4.6 million. Not sure if we're going to get there today, but we'll see. Small caps, 1.15 million already, so the ADV is nearly 2 million already, 1.9 million. So if you want another barometer of wild market times, then small caps averaging nearly 2 million contracts a day, that's pretty hot. There was a time not that long ago where 1 million was unsustainable for them. It used to be 600,000-700,000 contracts a day, so nearly 2 million contracts. That means small caps are up to no good, as well as the Qs, 3.75 million. That's a pretty hot day in the Qs. The ADV is 5.7 million, but can you blame them? The Qs are on fire today, so I'd be surprised if the Qs weren't putting up some wild numbers. Speaking of wild numbers, is it a wild numbers day out there in single name equity options? The answer is no. 335, so not even at our threshold, listeners, for respectability. Our threshold for respectability is 350, and we're not quite there. Only 335. But tell you what, I will run it again right now. Get the up to the minute, up to the second numbers. Now, pretty much still at about that level, listeners. That gets us to our old pal SoFi. SoFi coming in at number 10. Hanging out right around $27 right now, up about $1.80 or a little over 7.15%. You know, if you've been listening to the Hot Options Report for a while now, that it's been flirting with this 30 handle for a while, breaks through it, drops below it, dropped below it pretty hard last week, gaining back nearly $2 out there today. For number 10, number 9, the Amazonians, 387 on the tape, 225 exactly, up about 4 1/3 or nearly 2%. So Amazon coming back to life a little bit as well, as it seems like many of the tech names are. Number 8, Uncle Mike's favorite core holding in his portfolio. Yes, it's Palantir. 415 on the tape. Palantir roaring back to life as well. We saw them in the 150s range just last session, really. So that was a level we haven't seen in some time. Back to life a little bit today, up about $9, trading a little bit shy of 164, up nearly 6% today. So a good little pop for Palantir. Now, you know Palantir, they like to do a few head fakes intraday. So is this the real move or is it just head fake time? I guess we'll see. Tune into the hot options report after the bell to find out. Number 7, it's Meta. 613.5, up 19.25 or 3.25%. So you know Meta's been kind of flirting with this 600 level for a while as well. They blew back through it in the wrong direction last week. Coming back above it today, can they maintain this? We shall see. It's one of those weird holiday shortened weeks, listeners. So bear that in mind. Number 6, AMD, 431 on the tape. You know AMD's coming back to life today as well. 215.25, up 11.5 or 5 2/3%. Good for number 6. I said we were coming back to this name, and it's coming on twice. You know, it's a interesting day. Maybe this proves the Rock Lobster's hypothesis that Google is taking over. Because once again, Alphabet, both flavors are in our top 10 today. We're going to kick things off with Class C, the one we don't talk about that often. Number 5, 440,000 contracts on the tape for them. 317.40, up 17.75 or nearly 6%. For the Googs, number 4, it's the fruit company coming back to life as well. 275.92, up about $4.5 or 1 2/3%. Man, what a run they've been on since the stock buyback, listeners. Magical times in the fruit company as we keep on going. To number 3, the other side of the alphabet sandwich, Class A. 317.25, up 17 2/3 or about 5.9% out there as well. Good for number 3 today. Yeah, wild stuff. Number 3, 753 on the tape. We used to say you knew it was a boring day when Alphabet Class A was in the top 10. And over the past year with this AI war really heating up, and now, of course, the quantum stuff on top of that, adding some juice, some spice. Well, maybe Alphabet, not quite the sleepy name it used to be. Number 2, speaking of sleepy, this name is never sleepy, it seems like, including today. This is Tesla. Just roaring back to life today. 418, up $27 or nearly 7%. You know, is anyone better than Tesla at the old bait and switch? You know, they have the worst numbers ever, I think, in China for sales, or 3-year low. But they just come out and say, hey, don't worry about that. Focus on the AI chips. And the market's like, sure, that tastes delicious. And they're up 27.5 handles, you know? So if one thing's not working, just focus attention over here. Pay no attention to the man behind the corner. I think they have said in the past they're trying to pivot away from EVs. Can't say I blame them given the plateauing demand, shall we say, out there. But either way, the market is drinking the Kool-Aid today, hook, line, and sinker, driving them back north of the par strike pretty aggressively. I'm sure we're going to see some funky strikes in Tesla on the hot options report. Probably 440s if I had to guess. Maybe 430 seems not optimistic enough. Probably 440s and above. But we shall see. And then the big dog, once again, listeners, it's NVIDIA, 182 1/3, up about $3.5 or nearly 2% today. So NVIDIA, they were down earlier in the session. They got down to about 176.5 today. So they actually have rallied quite a bit, about almost 6 points from that level, about 5 3/4. So interesting. It was an interesting day earlier when the NASDAQ was already out of the gate hot and NVIDIA was down. It seemed kind of weird. And NVIDIA just needed some time to catch up, listeners. Speaking of catching up, it's kind of a light week on the earnings front, as you might imagine, but there still are some bangers coming out, including we've got Zoom after the bell today. You know, one of the definitions of pandemic darlings next to a few others like, you know, Peloton and others who really got a lift in the pandemic. And they've had ups and downs since, but they're popping off after the bell today. StoneX, the now owners of RJO and a few others, definitely spreading their tendrils in markets that are probably near and dear to a lot of our listeners. Tomorrow, Best Buy coming out before the bell. Everyone's been writing the death knell of this name for the decade plus now, and they continue to persist. Kohl's before the bell tomorrow, and NEO. We've been talking NEO a lot lately. They'll be popping off before the bell tomorrow. And then Uncle Mike's, one of his favorite shopping destinations, Burlington. Can't get enough of those coats. And then after the bell, he's got Dell and Autodesk popping off after the bell. And then, you know, there are some brave souls popping off on Wednesday as well, but not many. John Deere is probably the biggest one out there for you listeners. And luckily, because we like you, updated earnings move results, and earnings season reports waiting for you over there on the website as it's time for us to keep on rolling into the Odd Block.
It's time to break down the most interesting, unusual, and downright questionable options activity that's been identified by theoptionsinsider.com. It's time for The Odd Block.
All right, let's get weird. Let's get wild. Let's get wonderful, listeners. It is time for the Odd Block. Let's kick it off. I do believe this is a newcomer. If we have talked about it, it's been a while. This is everyone's favorite, JBS NV. This is a Brazilian company, a Brazilian meat processing company. They produce beef, chicken, salmon, sheep, and pork. Interesting, salmon sneaking in there. Ticker symbol, appropriately enough, JBS, trading $14.41, up about 70 cents or nearly 5%. So a good little day for JBS NV out there. Let's look at the year, though. Has it been a good year for JBS NV? It actually has been a decent year. Today's move moves them positive for the year. So I guess technically, yes, it has been a good year. But they've had quite a few ups and downs. A year ago, they were at about 1387. They rallied in June of this year, 1387. And then they immediately, so they missed the great nadir of April. And then they sold off to about $13 exactly. Then they rallied again. They hit their high for the year of $17.80 on August 27th. Since then, have been mostly falling out of bed. They fell back down by October. Beginning of October, they were at $12.50. Actually hit 12 1/3 on October 13th, Friday the 13th, or in this case, I guess on Monday the 13th. And then since then, they've been climbing, including a nice little run over the last couple of weeks. They were $13 back on November 13th, and they popped up to about $13.86, and they're popping again today to $14.41. And let's see what our Eye of Sauron spotted out there today. It looks like, Mr. Rock Lobster, somebody thinks the partay is not completed in JBS NV because they came in this morning and they said, March 15s, how are they? And they got on this big print 60 at 65, but they actually had been putting them up earlier in the day. They had wider markets earlier in the session. They said, I will trade 3,822 for 65 cents. They had earlier traded 2,934 for 65 cents, and so on and so forth throughout the day, listeners, for a total, as we kicked off the show, of about 20, almost 21,000 on the day. So those March 15s, a pretty hot commodity out there today. If you're wondering, earnings must have just happened because there are earnings in March. I don't think they're within the expiration cycle. Let me look really quickly. Yeah, their earnings are on the 25th and expiration is on the 20th in March. So you're buying these. You ain't getting no earnings juice, listeners, if you're wondering. If you're getting some duration, though. So maybe that's enough for you out there. I got a feeling they'd be a little bit juicier, a little bit pricier if you got all that duration and some earnings juice. But Mr. Rock Lobster, are you excited for a little bit of Brazilian salmon processing all the way out to March, sir, for about 65 cents?
I am. You know what? I am. It's not a bad.
Sounds like you're talking yourself into it. I am. You know what? I am.
Well, I'm looking at it's based in the Netherlands. I love these. Like these companies are so confusing, right? It's Brazilian, except it's Netherlands registered, and they make and they are a gigantic like this is like the biggest business you've never heard of. It's like 80 billion a year in revenue, selling meat and all kinds of stuff. Kind of an interesting sleepy company. So what I would say is I think those calls today, there's a bit of a gap. And there's also a gap in Tyson today too, which is another big meat packing company. I actually had a position in that in the Flash series, so we cashed in a win on that one. But like, what's going on with the meat packers? All of a sudden, they have value. So I don't think it's a bad purchase for this behemoth kind of company. Although they'll never say AI when it comes to cattle and lamb and beef and all that stuff. But I don't think it's a badly priced option for the duration that you're going to get there. So very, very interesting. All I can say is I feel like somebody thinks something could be happening there in the gigantic meat packing world.
Yeah, meat processing getting hot. Can they whisper the magical letters of AI? Can the robots process the salmon? I don't know. But they're off to the run. I'm sure if they did whisper the magical letters, these call buyers would like it. You like these listeners? You're getting some decent duration on this. We've seen wilder flyers. This is about a 34 vol if you are intrigued. So there you go. If you want to take a flyer on Brazilian meat processing out of the Netherlands, and who doesn't? Then maybe the JBS March 15s are your huckleberry. We got a newcomer popping in right now, breaking as we speak, Mr. Rock Lobster. So we're going to interrupt our usually scheduled odd block here to go back to one of our old pals. This one's kind of in Uncle Mike territory. This is a precious metals player. This is B2Gold Corp, ticker symbol BTG, trading $4.12, up 30 cents today, or nearly over 8%, actually. You don't need me to tell you it's been a good year for B2Gold. They're up $1.27, or about 44.5%, which is not that dissimilar from what gold is up, close to 50%, 48%, somewhere in that ballpark. So not surprising they're tracking gold. I will say they did hit their high of nearly $6 in the gold fever of mid-October, $5.94. So they have come back to earth a wee bit since then. They actually sold off to about $3.80 in early November. So if you wanted to scoop some B2 gold, that was your time. It sounds like they are popping again today. Again, if this name sounds familiar before I get to today's flow, we did talk about this, but it's been a little while since we've actually chatted about BTG. The last time we chatted about it was actually with our pro friends on Options Oddities back in January of 2024. So coming up on 2 years now. Well, that's interesting. We talked about the stock was $2.70 at the time. And we talked about somebody writing, looked like they overwrote the 3 calls for 12 cents. So they were not feeling all the upside that we had this year. And they sold them for 37 cents. Looks like they bought them back for 12 cents, 20,300 times. These were the April 2024 3 calls at the time. So they profited a little over $500,000, about 507,000 contracts. They also the stock dropped a little bit in that time, 50 cents. So if they were long the roughly corresponding 2 million shares, then they were out about $1 million on the stock. So that $500,000 in the covered call helps to make the pain go away a little bit out. And of course, if they're still long the stock, they're doing a lot better now. But it just goes to show you this thing was kind of sleepy for a while. People were overriding the heck out of it. And then lo and behold, this year, the year that everyone forgot about gold until all of a sudden, hey, here we go. Gold making up for a lot of lost time this year, and silver, to be fair to Uncle Mike out there as well. So again, I say all that to lay the groundwork for what we noticed today. Somebody coming in today and thinking, you know what, maybe this whole gold thing, not quite done for the year. They came back, they said, D's 4.5s, how are they? They got a dime at 15 cents. I said, you know what, 15 cents sounds pretty good to me, dear sir. I will pay 15 cents, 6,682 times. The stock was a little bit lower, $4.03, so they caught a little bit of a lift in the stock. The earnings are not in the lifespan of this option. The next earnings are on February 18th, so you got a long way to go if you want the next earnings. Looks like somebody just swinging for a little bit of a return of the upside. I don't know, Mr. Rock Lobster, and maybe Uncle Mike if you want to weigh in on this one as well, because I know you are a precious metals guy. Either of you loving these D's 4.5s for 15 cents?
I have a hard time loving anything under $5 for 15 cents. So unless maybe natural gas or in the bigger futures market, but I think I'm good on this one.
Uncle Mike, ever since he bailed on his silver, he just doesn't want to touch anything shiny anymore. He's done. He's done. Mr. Rock Lobster, what about you? Are you down for these bad boys?
It's kind of a weird one. Short duration. D's 4.5 calls for 15 cents. I see. It looks like almost they rolled them from November or something. So I don't think they're. I don't know what's going on with BTG. It feels like is somebody buying it out or something because they're like trade. I mean, there's a little premium there. I can gold go up? Yeah. It's not generally the kind of call I would speculate on. But I think they're bid going out, so maybe they're it looks okay right now. Somebody wants them. There's a lot of buying at the money in that thing. So, hey, there could be a Santa rally. All stocks go up. So they could be, but that's not my favorite. It would not be my favorite call to buy. But it's not a terrible price for what you want.
Not a terrible price, says the Rock Lobster. As we keep on rolling to our final victim here on the odd block. It's Ecopetrol. Oh, that looks like Ecopetrol. It's actually Ecopetrol. Ecopetrol essays. This is another ADR here. This is formerly known as Empresa Colombiana de Petróleo. So this is the largest petroleum company in Colombia. I don't think we've talked about. I'm going to call it Ecopetrol because it's just too fun. Ecopetrol, ticker symbol EC. 9.56 today, off 30 cents or almost 3%. So not a great day for Ecopetrol on the year. 8.10. 8.10. And that was where they were a year ago. So up about $1.50 or 18% since then. They got as high as about $11, pretty much exactly, right around Valentine's Day. Another one hit their peak around Valentine's Day. And they hit it again around March, $10.50. Then they sold off in May, not in April, but in May, to about $7.50. And they've rallied a few times since, about $9.84 in mid-June before selling off again to $8.35. Then they rallied it again recently to almost to the high again, $10.61. And then right back down again to $9.56 where we find it today. So interesting highs and lows out here in everyone's favorite Ecopetrol. And what did we find out here today? Maybe that puts this trade in context today. Somebody came in this morning, said, Feb 9 puts, how are they? They got no bid at 75 cents. My favorite market, the no bid markets. I wish I could have made some no bid markets back in the day. How fun would that have been before the broker punched me in the face, and rightfully so. No bid at 45 cents. They said, you know what? Or no bid at 75 cents. They said, you know what, good sir, I will trade 7,000 for 45 cents. So confounding this market. I'm just trying to do a little bit of digging to see if any others traded. And you know what? No, only 7,002 have traded on the day. The 2 lot went up about an hour and a half later, and the market they got was slightly better, 20 cents at 70, so slightly tighter. But go figure. I'm going to get the feeling, Mr. Rock Lobster, they think Ecopetrol has fallen out of bed and they scooped these bad boys. What do you think? You think they drew a line in the sand, sir? What are you feeling about your new favorite name, Ecopetrol?
I seem to recall like trading these Roach Motel names. You know, you trade, you're like, oh gosh, you know, what's going to happen? I feel like this is a line in the sand put. It's been a while since we've seen them. So I'm going to say line in the sand put on this one.
Okay, I probably like it better that way, but
yeah. I think line in the sand put again, 45 cents times 7,000. What is that? Is that that's about that number, right? The girlfriend's Ferrari number, around $250,000.
Yeah, you're getting up there.
People laugh about that, yet every time we see it, it's the same amount.
Girlfriend has expensive taste.
She does, because she's probably on her 10th Ferrari, 50th Ferrari. We've seen a lot of Ferraris. For the end of the year, if you went through and scanned all your line in the sand put trades, I wonder how many of them paid for like the end of the year show wrap up. I bet you the percentage is very high.
We haven't seen a ton of them of late. They've kind of fallen out of favor.
Year.
They've fallen out of favor this year. Previous years, markets exploding to the upside. People are writing puts all day. The chop seems to have discouraged a lot of
I think line in the sand puts work seem to bring like the zone of the monk brings in the line of the sand put traders. Zone 4 does not.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And you know what brings all the kids to the yard is the strategy block. So let's get to it.
It's time to dispense options, wit, wisdom, and education. It's time for the Strategy Block.
All right, everybody, let's dive into a little bit of the old strategery with none other than the uncleist of Mike's, the guy who never met an upside call in the shiny stuff that he didn't like. Mr. Uncle Mike, what do you got for us this week, sir?
With all my bearish gold and silver trades?
You are loading up on those puts. Sold to you, says Uncle Mike, shiny stuff.
So I have a problem right now, and it's obviously a good problem to have as a portfolio manager. And I just a trick that I use that you may want to consider if you are having the same problem. So, for our monthly covered calls, what's happening is that we want to have a specific allocation to our covered call portfolio. We call it the triple income. But the problem is that the stocks that we still like are getting priced too doggone high. And we're pricing ourselves out of things to where we don't have enough money to buy the stocks anymore, without doing some type of major overhaul on people's allocations. It's too difficult to do. So here's something that's happening and what we are doing. So let's say that we have a stock that's too high priced, and we want to have 100 shares of that stock, obviously, so we can sell a covered call on it. We're not able to do that and still keep our percentage allocations right. So this is what we are doing right now. We're buying 80 shares, 90 shares, 70 shares, or whatever on the stock itself. And what we're doing is we're seeing, okay, what covered call would we want to sell on it? And we determine how much of a delta ratio that is. So in other words, let's say we wanted to do, and I'm oversimplifying this, but let's say we wanted to sell an at the money covered call. We would be long the stock and then short the covered call. That would be overall a 50 delta position, long 100 deltas from the stock, short 50 deltas from the short call. And so that gives us a 50 delta position with where we are. So what we're trying to do on here is, let's say we were to buy 80 shares of the stock, we would want to find a way with which to collect the same premium and figure the same delta by doing a call spread instead of a call. Now, it does take a slightly additional amount of buying power to do this, because you will have to have the maintenance requirement for the short call spread. But if you still want to play the covered call game and you still want to be in the specific stocks that you like, this is a way with which to consider it. Now, you may have to, or you will have to have an understanding of how call spreads work. You'll have to have an understanding of how, if you get called away early, you have to be aware of same day substitution rules. If you're doing this in an IRA, you'll have to be aware of a lot of things. But this is a way that we find we can stay with the stocks that we like, even though they get priced out of our wheelhouse, so to speak. So an example of this one, and don't get me wrong, we've had plenty of losing stocks too. I'm not trying to toot our own horn, although we have done really well with our covered call portfolio, if you ever want to learn about it. But one of the stocks that's really been a giant thorn in our side for this, in a good way, has been Microsoft. And if you look at Microsoft, roughly, we've been doing stuff on Microsoft for a long time, but Microsoft just got too high for us, but we still do like Microsoft. So we are doing this with Microsoft. So anyway, if you are looking to trade some higher priced stocks and you want to make sure that your allocation is in balance and you still want to collect premium, a delta weighted short call spread can be the equivalent of a covered call when looking to do this. And that is my strategy block today.
There you go, listeners. And now it's time for us to go around the block.
It's time to tell you what we'll be watching on our trading screens until the next episode. It's time for Around the Block.
As we're coming into the last portion of the show here, market's hanging out pretty close to where we were at the start of the show. Dow up about 0.2%, S&P up about 1.6%, the NASDAQ up about 2.6%, and fixed cash floating really in that 20 to 3/4 to 2085 range out there, listeners. And let's look around here really quickly. We're trying to get some questions of the week up for you, but it looks like Twitter having some problems posting polls right now. So no flash polls on the VIX and no question of the week, no new question of the week for you right now. We'll try to get it posted hopefully later today or tomorrow. Speaking of what you folks have on the brain, though, we did try to post a question about binaries but again, having problems with Twitter right now. But our one of our pro members, Age, did see it. He likes to comment really quickly on our. He posted before we had a chance to delete it. That's how quick he is. He says, if binaries have to exist, which I'm not sure they need to do, that should only be for financial instruments. That gets kind of to the heart, a little bit of a tease for what our actual question of the week is. Going back to our pro chat, a lot of people have been talking about, you got them all fired up about Gemini, Mr. Rock Lobster. Queen says she likes Gemini. It's her go-to AI. She asks this stuff almost every day. Mr. Unlimited, easy for me to say, says, every update, Gemini will give me a free month trial. I always sign up for it and cancel it after. I have the latest version, and it's still dumb. It can't parse options paper, but it will try and lie to you. That's true. Don't trust a lot of these AIs really yet for any sort of, at least the big publicly available models for a lot of current trading info, because a lot of the info is dated on their list. Something to bear in mind out there. And our question of the week, last week we asked you folks, a gun to your head, you had to allocate to one asset class by effectively an at-the-money call-in through the end of next year. And we gave you three choices in the infamous other: Bitcoin, gold, S&P 500, and other. Ended up 40% of you going Bitcoin. So you wanted to scoop a little bit of BTC. Looking good today. BTC rallying a bit. Will that persist through the end of 2026? We shall see. Gold coming in second place, 36.7%. 13.3% only. That's kind of a low number for the S&P, so no love for the S&P. And then 10% for other. We had a bunch of interesting write-ins out there. So stay tuned to @options. Sometime later today, hopefully, or tomorrow, whenever Twitter gets his act together, we'll have more fun questions of the week for you out there. But let's go around the horn. Mr. Rock Lobster, we'll start with you, sir. A no show on Thursday, so for you, and no shows really on Friday for Black Friday and high school football playoff reasons. So what are you keeping an eye on throughout the rest of the week until your next trivia battle next Monday, sir?
Yeah, I have to reclaim my. I want to go into the end of the year strong. I'm a little worried. All of a sudden, Tosaw's gotten a couple of good
two
cards.
in a row. Uncle Mike coming back, surging.
I think that's his first of the year. So listen, if Tosaw can go back to back for two this year, the S&P 500 can rally above 690 spot.
There we go.
So I'm watching. I think a big thing is these inflation numbers. You got PPI coming out, and if I'd say and I think the market already knows what the number is. It's the September number, and kind of a benign number. I'm seeing prices drop. Actually, housing prices, gas prices, like stuff like that to me is lower. Everything probably except health insurance. So. But other than that, and we'll see if we can get a little bit more rally action going. AI earnings are still powering the rally. Earnings have been great this year, corporate earnings, and that's what makes stocks go up ultimately. And that's why Tosaw and I and you, we like stocks, because as long as earnings are going up, stocks go up.
I hate stocks. Can't stand them. Mr. Uncle Mike, same question for you, sir. What are you keeping an eye on throughout the rest of the week? And for you, not until the Monday show next week.
Well, I want to continue to watch the market, see if maybe we can make a low volume Thanksgiving week rally. And then the other thing that I'm watching, this is my annual Thanksgiving advice. So prepare, folks. This is very important. By now, you should have already sold your pumpkin futures. Halloween is over. You should consider buying some Christmas tree futures because Christmas is coming, but stay away from turkey. They have no future.
Yes, the annual Uncle Mike Thanksgiving joke. I know a lot of you are looking forward to it. There you go. We need a little rim shot at the end of that for you there, Uncle Mike. That music means we have come to the end of our journey through the world of options for this show. We'll be back in a little bit. Going to do crypto a little bit early, so if you're hanging out in the pro, just stay tuned. We'll be back earlier than usual for your crypto rundown. This week should be a fun one. A lot of action going on in the crypto space. And of course, you come back to wrap it all up with the Hot Options Report. Back again tomorrow, Dr. Vicks in hand and special guests to go across the pond for the European market brief. That should be a fun one, always is. And then, of course, another little pro Q&A for all our friends over there on the pro side. You want to get access to that, theoptionsinsider.com/pro is the place to go to learn more. Then you'll get your on-demand content and maybe some live stuff if we like you on Wednesday for our pro friends anyway. And then obviously off for Thursday and Friday, back again on Monday for another trivia battle. And while folks are waiting for another trivia battle, where should they go if they want to get flashed, Mr. Rock Lobster?
Option Pit 888 Trade 01, and we will flash you on a bi-weekly basis.
You just said you were flashing people in Tyson Foods, right? So what'd you go? Did you go to their packaging plant with the trench coat? Is that how it works?
Exactly. Actually, Option Pit right now, we're having a sale. Mark wants to give away money. I think any Option Pit product, we have a list for $1,000 for the year, so it's a pretty good deal. That's going to be our Black Friday celebration. It'll be over on Friday. So you get all kinds of deals. You want to re-up, do whatever, this is your chance. Hey, I do all the trades we put up, and I want to make money, so you can earn while you learn at Option Pit. Crazy idea, I know.
There you go. Check it out, optionpit.com to learn more. Maybe you too will get flashed at a meat processing plant near you. Check it out, optionpit.com to learn more. And Uncle Mike, sir, where should folks go if they want to be flashed by you at perhaps a meat processing facility near them, sir?
There will be no flashing at meat processing facilities with what we're doing. So
you are no fun, sir.
With that being said, feel free to check out my website, stcharleswealth.com, if you're looking for a financial advisor that is not fearful of the option product. In fact, I kind of like it.
But he is afraid to flash you at a meat processing facility, so you can hold that against him, listeners. Feel free to ask him why. stcharleswealth.com is the place to go to learn more. Got to get on out of here. Back again in a little bit for the crypto rundown, then back again with all of the other great content we just mentioned here until we're back again next Monday, another episode of the Option Block. Stay safe out there.
Old trading walks into a bar. New trading raises it. That's Tasty Trade. Keep focused with news feeds that matter. See opportunity differently in analysis mode. Chart your heart out with over 300 indicators. Plus, you can get low pricing, lots of education, and a support team that really gets how traders trade. It's no wonder Investopedia named Tasty Trade the best broker for options in 2024. Genius loves company. Go to tastytrade.com/podcasts and see for yourself. Tasty Trade Incorporated is a registered broker-dealer and member of FINRA, NFA, and SIPC. You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.